Hey, and good evening. Welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio, the Chronicles of Rohn. I'm your host, Alan J. Campbell. Hey, we're going to get into I was going to do something tonight, but I'm going to do something a little different in my original program. Because I think this is more important. And it really, really is. And it's where we are as a state of a people, as a people, and as black men and black women and our children, and how we sometimes tend to parcel them out as their mail, or drop them off like a bag of laundry. um Normally, I normally get into a couple of things about, events that's going on in the city, but we're going to go left on that right now. This is going to go down. This is the typical thing of it being in the sidecar going down a one-way street. The topic, and I call it the chess game, because that's exactly what this really is. And we're talking about how women. And I want to make this little disclaimer also. This is not beating up on anyone, but this is just putting the facts out there. This is putting the truth with everything that we have to deal with as men, especially black men. A young man approached me. Well, he brought something to my attention, and it was concerning his children. And he says he was trying to figure out how to deal with this situation, because the baby mama, and this is what we call, once again, the baby mama drama. How does he go about trying to see his children? And his words were, hey, Mr. Campbell, I'm a good man. I said, son, let me explain something to you. It ain't got nothing to do with you about being a good man. Being a good man, saying that you have children doesn't make you a good man. It's what you do is what defines you being a good man. We're not talking about showing up twice a year for birthdays and Christmas and giving them little trinkets. That's not that. No, we're talking about being in this child's life from inception. That means when you all were, wherever you all were at, where were you at, where you was at your mama's house, or you was at her grandmama's house, or y'all was in the back of a Thunderbird with them hot leather seats, oohing and on, her feet up in the air, 10 toes to Jesus. It starts there, because at some point or another, y'all you realize it's all of that, this is subject to happen. A baby is subject to come. Now, what happens is that when that happens, a level of responsibility is supposed to kick in. Now, for some people, it doesn't, because if you don't fully understand the idea of responsibility, or you've never been taught responsibility, you have no concept of it. Zero, zip, nada. Now, he goes on to explain to me that the baby mama is sweating him for child support. She's got him, she's trying to get him in court and stuff like that. I said, well, here's how you have to do this. The first thing I'm gonna tell you right now, children are expensive, but it's even more expensive when you get into this realm, because first of all, you have to diverse yourself in family law. You have to understand what it entails. You have to fully understand that, of what it entails. And once you fully understand that, and understand, a lot of us don't have a lot of us don't have Michael Jackson money. A lot of us don't even have poor people money. We just don't. But when we have the knowledge of how to go about doing something, that helps us with the process. So I told him the first thing you need to do is that, first of all, is she a hard person to talk to, or is she difficult to talk to? Is she a kind of person to where you can't reach this individual? You have to ask yourself this kind of question. And the second thing is that you kind of, you kind of had to have some of the there had to been telltale signs on what kind of person this woman is and kind of be. And the other thing, did she have any kids before you got with her? Now that's the question that I asked. His response, well, yeah, she has a kid. I said, okay, well, have you, does she mention the other father? Have you even seen him? See, these are certain things that we have to start looking at. Now, the biggest thing is that it boils down to children. It boils down to money. Money, that's what it boils down to from start to finish, because she's trying to figure out how much money she can get out of you. Now, here in the state of Illinois, the last I checked, that for one child is 32% of your total income, of your, not your gross, but your net income. If you don't understand the difference between gross and net, gross is what you make after taxes, net is what you take home. So he's getting 32%. And then that number increases to up to 45% when it's two children. And then when you get to maybe a little bit more, then that ledger is on the other side of 50. You got a real problem. You have a real problem. Now, the other thing is that when we talk about this money, it takes money to keep going back and forth to court. It takes money to file motions to have your case heard. The average and the filing fee itself is upwards to $320. Now imagine doing this on a regular basis, and this is you doing it pro se, meaning you're doing this yourself. You don't have that kind of money. A lot of us are on Post Street. A lot of us are. So when we start to think about these things, and men, you have to really start thinking about sometimes the women that you have children by. You got to start thinking about that. You have to look at that as, do I really want to be bothered with this individual, this tackhead chick? Do I really want to be bothered with her? Because obviously when you saw her, because the first thing you probably saw was she had pretty eyes and beautiful lips. She had a nice little round apple booty, and the girls were just crying your name. But the price that comes with that, fellas, there is a price that comes with that. It's called misery, trouble. Because understand something, she didn't get them other 4 kids by just saying how you do. Look at her. But before I get too far, I'm gonna let you know that the phone lines are open. If you want to join in this really hotbed conversation, give me a call here at the station at 708-223-8953. The phone lines are open, because I really want to hear from some of these men, and I want to hear from some of these women who have dealing with these things. Now, understand something too. Now, let's flip this over. Now, we will have the women. Now understand something. I'm not beating up on the women. I'm not doing it. But we have to put these things out there. We got to be out in front. Now, I'm going to pause for a minute with the men. Ladies, when you have children by this man, you have to check. First of all, you need to look at and see how many kids he got. How many babies have he dropped off in somebody else? You got to ask yourself the same thing. It always goes back to what? Be careful who you have children by. Be careful who you have children by. Okay, I right now, because even myself, I have 6. I have 6 children. But I talk to my boys a little. I give my boys a little bit more of the information on how to conduct themselves and what they need to do and how they go about this. They're going to get into relationships, but remember now, and I tell them all the time, listen, don't let these girls talk you into a hole you can't get out of. And I look, and they kind of looked at me like, no, you know what hole I'm talking. You're talking about that wonderful glory hole. Be mindful. Because at the end of the day, somebody's got to pay the cost. Ladies, you have to you have to understand that when you get to a certain point of childbearing, and you're popping them out like Skittles. You get to a point to where you become unmarried. You're no longer marriage material, because no man, no real man, I'm not going to even say a good man, no real man is going to want to be bothered with the drama. He doesn't want to be bothered with somebody else's child not minding him or obeying him or respecting him. And see, this is one of the things that sometimes that you women allow to happen, is that you allow these children to disrespect these men, and they do it, and then they disrespect you. This is one of those things to where, and then when you have all, then when you cry and you got all these babies, and you sitting there on a Sunday afternoon with your hair looking all messed up, and and then you in your house coat and your feet up on the couch, looking pole mouth, because you ain't got nobody there. You ain't got no money, but you got all these damn kids running around. But see, when you weren't thinking about that, like I said, you weren't thinking about that when you had your legs in the air and 10 toes to Jesus. Not one single solitary time. Everything comes with a price. It's that old saying, that old song when they say cheaper to keep her. To a certain degree, yeah, but it all depends on who you trying to keep. See, here's the thing too, ladies. Just because you decide that you're gonna give this man a baby, that don't mean that you can keep him. See, some women get with men because they just want to have, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. They just want to have some dick in the house, point blank. Period. They just want to have a warm body right there next to them. There has to be an understanding of priorities. There has to be an understanding of what direction are we going. Has to be an understanding. And once these children come and the relationship falls apart, now somebody mad, somebody feeling some kind of way. But see, you weren't thinking about that. Now this is where you're at. I'm trying to figure out what I need to do. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna fix this. Well, you sitting there and and this is the funny part. This is the other part too for this year. Since when they changed when the tax laws changed, and and these single mothers ran out and they filed their taxes, and I've heard some of the some stories that where these women were collecting money, and this is for one child. This is just off the top, one child, $3,800 just for one child. When you start looking at your child as a cash cow, you already have problems. You already have a problem. That's a human being. A human being. And for some of y'all, how much of that money, that 3,800, are you actually spending towards that child? Are you thinking about maybe investing that money into something? Are you thinking about putting some money aside for maybe a rainy day for like college or something like that? Because you're gonna have this child until he gets up of age and then leaves your house. Not to mention that some individuals who may have 3 or 4 children, and so that's upwards to $5,000 and $6,000. And that's just for this year alone. And then you sit there and I wonder where all that money went. Well, I'll tell you where all that money went. Then you're sitting there, now you got your hands out and you're looking for the daddy to throw in his money. So when we're talking about the money and child support, ladies, make it clear. The key, I can't put it any simpler. The operative word in that sentence is child support. That means that money is directly for the child. Right now, this is a sidebar. Right now, in several states, they are testing a program. It's a pilot program right now that they are testing, and they're putting. They're going to start putting the child support payments are going to go to a debit card. It's going to be it's going to be like a link card. You know, and most of you and most of you out there who who get link and think you slick and gonna try and sell it, doesn't work that way. The same way that you cannot buy certain things, certain items with the link card, they're doing the same thing with this debit card, and it clearly states child support use, meaning that they don't want to see they don't want to see that money you going in. That doesn't mean that you go in and you pay your car note. That doesn't mean that you go and buy you a head full of horse, meaning weave. That doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean for you to be at the nail salon getting your feet and getting your hands and feet done. That's not for you. That's not what it's going to. They're not going to allow you to do that. That card will automatically red flag. Red flag. That doesn't mean for you to go down to one of them little jump off stores or and into JC Penney's in the women's section, and you buying you a booty shaker dress to go out for Saturday night. That's not what that's for. What they're doing is that they're making this more accountable, levels of accountability. Hey, good evening. Welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio, the Chronicles of Rohn. Who do I have on the phone, and where are you calling from?
This is Jay from Georgia.
What's happening in Georgia?
All right, so let's get into it. We're talking a little bit about this whole thing of child support, this whole thing of taxes and or the income credit and so on and so forth. First of all, at the core of all of this, you're dealing with a mentality of individual that is about that of a sixth grader, because in order for us to have these adult conversations, you have to be in an adult arena, which means that this child, this living human being that we have created, is not a toy. This is not a what they used to teach us in school. This is not a home ec project.
Right.
Okay? Another discipline that has been removed from our schools. This is not something that works on the Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends you put it away. This is a living, breathing individual that has constant needs. And we can go back and forth about the whole this one and that one and whose dad is this. At the end of the day, y'all chose that. You know what I'm saying? And most of the time, at least 70% of the time, you knew that was not. Let's put it this way. I'm going to be very simple and very frank. I see dogs have more discriminating taste than some people. Dogs and cats. They can, at an instant, whiff a mate and either reject them or accept them as suitable for the propagation of that species.
It's called the proper suitor.
But they have more discriminating intelligence than some human beings, most human beings. I'll say it lastly like this. We're functioning with a sublime level of intellect that is perpetuated from what I call the Claudine syndrome.
Yeah, please expound on that.
If you don't know the Claudine syndrome, Claudine's grandson is Lee John. Let me just put it that way. So Claudine was she was basically the poster child of what the feminists did to the African-American woman in the 70s, which was once again played on your insecurity to help build their numbers for their agenda. And when they got what they wanted, they sent you home and they went with their husbands.
Yeah. And
very different. They sent you home, wherever that was, whether it was with your mama, with your grandmama, in your 2-bedroom shack, but they sent you home and they went back with their husbands.
And let me interject now. And if you're not, and like you said, if you're not familiar with this movie, when he said the Claudine syndrome, there was a movie. There was a movie called Claudine, and if you have not seen that, YouTube it. And I'm saying this for and I'm saying this for a reason, especially for our black women. Watch that movie Claudine. Watch that, because it is indicative of the society that we are living in, that you all are living in, the arena that you're living in right now.
But let me also add is that the exact same scenario that put her in that situation
Yes,
is ever prevalent today.
today.
Hillary Clinton just did that to you in 2016. This is the same people who call your children super predators,
Yeah.
who were not fit for human decency. Hillary Clinton says that one of her idols, one of her mentors, is Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger is she's the founder of Planned Parenthood. Now, the funny thing is, Planned Parenthood, most people think of Planned Parenthood as an advocacy group to help people find safe places for abortion. Okay, yeah, all right, go with that. The real goal and motto of it was she utilized the platform, keyword Planned Parenthood, to help keep the balance between the superior race of what they call the white race in balance with the other Mongoloid and or inferior races. Which meant that these were people who were midwives. These were people who were nurses in hospitals. These were people who were pediatricians and or medical professionals. And it was their mission. You got to look very carefully to them. They considered the African American like a species of a weed in the garden of life. This is Margaret Sanger's own quote. And for you to sit up and say that this is a person that you idolize, this is a person that you call as a mentor, when you call someone a mentor, that means that their thought process, their ideology, you are in total league with. If someone told me, or if I were to say, devil's advocate, if I were to say on any platform that my mentor was Adolf Hitler and Stalin, it's my mentor. Those guys were heroes because of the level of success that they achieved. You would look at me like I am the devil incarnate. Because you look at the fruit and the ideology that these people perpetuated. So I'm saying it's very funny, very important that we understand when people tell you different precursors about what is important to the nature of what they do. Here's another thing, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before. Her lead advisor was a guy named Tony Podesta. His brother, Eric Podesta. They were involved in, and no one's talking about this, but this is very true. We're talking about Trump and the scandals that he's going through, whatever that is, from a stripper. These guys were involved in pedophilia, including Bill Clinton, pedophilia rings. And I'm not talking about simple rings where, you know, we're going to find a couple of runways. No. This was pedophilia to order. To the elite. It's called Pizzagate. Because you would order under the premise of a pizza the type of pedophilia that you were after. But I digress. This was all happening as a byproduct of the Clinton family. And I say family loosely because I'm talking about all of the people who they had association with, including Anthony Weiner,
which is a
who
really
was twice disgraced for pedophilia.
Mm-hmm. Because they found a bunch of stuff on his laptop, his personal.
Well, they found that was how they got linked to Tony Podesta, was because he and his wife were sharing information about the campaign. He was advising his wife. His wife was looking to him and for some other things. And in the meantime, the FBI is tracking him through some of the pedophilia activity he's doing on his laptop.
Mm-mm.
And as they backdoored that, that's when they all came together and said, oh, no, this is deeper than what we thought. And then at the very end of this, just last year around Christmas time, the Clinton server room where the Secret Service used to be housed blows up. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I digress.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and let me interact with you on something too. I'm gonna go back to this child support thing. With and I as I began the show, I had a young man approach me, and he was very concerned on how to why does this happen? What makes a person become so so irate that they feel that the only way that they can do this is to take their children away, use them as pawns, and extort money from them. And he was trying to really get an understanding. And and the best way I could tell him to explain this to him was that you have to understand, this is a game. It's a chess game. It's extortion. The bottom line is that whoever runs out of money first loses.
Well, it's deeper than that. That's part of it. That's one layer of it, but it's deeper than that. So in the family court system, we have to understand that this is a system that is used to legislating property. Okay, so let's go down to the sublime level. This is a system that is governed and is legalistic and is used to allocating and adjudicating property and thereof. Who owns what goes where? Property. But when you're dealing with live, living estates, that's where it gets real weird. Because technically and physically, how do you give someone 50% of a child? You can't.
You can't.
Okay? Solomon proved that. But that's a whole nother story. So what the court tries to do, as best as it can, is to find a way that lays or overlays the property equity that it utilizes over the legalism of moral responsibility. That's what it tries to do. And I'm building that because we need to understand the premise. And the premise that they're utilizing is the matrimony or the union of a marriage. Okay, they're utilizing that as the core structure of how they're trying to equally distribute how this live property is managed and relegated amongst two parties. Now, that's in a perfect world. We know it ain't perfect. We know that typically that would be if this was a union that somehow fell apart. Now we have kids and everything's 50-50, everybody's hunky-dory, everybody goes to live their happy ever after. No. So that's not what happens. What they have is, and forgive me for being vulgar, we got a loose dog in the yard that's breeding with everything on the lot. Okay? So since we got a loose dog breeding with everything on the lot, we have to hold the owner of this breed dog heavily responsible. Heavily responsible. Because he is the seed giver.
Right. Right.
See, the reason why you're getting hit the hardest is because you're the seed giver. If you do not give seed, what happens to the other part of the plant? It dies.
It dies, right.
Period. It dies. We know that as a 28-day cycle. If it does not become what, it dies. Period. So so we can't really penalize that too far, because realistically it would balance itself out naturally. But we do have the ability to make you accountable, because remember now, you the loose dog on the lot.
Right.
So what happens when you keep having, or when you have a breeder, and I have to go into the vein of livestock. If you have a breeder that keeps allowing his stud to spoil other flocks, eventually he has to compensate those other flocks for that and take them on as his own, or they're going to need to get that breeder spayed or neutered. I can't remember which one it is, but they have to get him dealt with. The key line is, it falls back to the responsibility or the owner of the breeder.
Yeah.
See, when you go to the court is looking at, where's the loose dick and why is it not taking care of itself? Don't get this shit twisted. That's what this is. Well, she did this and she did that. Yeah, that's what's going to happen, Doc. That's what's going. And the reason why you didn't know that is because you never had a real man in front of you to tell you that's the game.
Right. And that's what it boils down to.
And don't nobody love Jesus more than these black women. Love him more than their husband.
Yep.
The problem is, you don't really even know what you should be having or being loyal to. Because the system is going to screw you. Because the system has already conditioned you that you keep him out of the house so that we can help you get better.
Right.
You can get better without him. And here's the funny part. We are the only ethnicity that is given that rite of passage as acceptable. We're going to help you get better, but you can't have him.
Mm-hmm.
No other ethnicity is penalized or is given that ultimatum.
Right. It goes back to what we said earlier, what we referenced earlier was that movie Claudine. But hey, we got to take, caller, Georgia, we got to take us a little break here because we still got to pay bills in this place.
Absolutely.
We still got to pay bills. All right. Appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks. Hey, that, we're touching on some stuff and it may be sensitive, but it's the truth. And that's the whole thing about this. That's the whole thing about the topic, what we're talking about. And that's the whole thing about this show, is that we want to hit on things to get your mind awake, because some of us continuously are in a medically induced coma. But we're going to take us to break here. We got to pay some bills. Hey, listen, if you have a comment or a question for the show, give us a call and leave it on our voicemail at 872-267-1386. Nubian Beauty of Hair. Check out their website, luxuryhairdirect.com/Nubian4. Hey, give us here a call at the show at iHeart Intellectual Radio, the Chronicles of Rohn, and when we get back.
You got it in, though.
Hey, and welcome back to the show. Welcome back to iHeart Intellectual Radio, the Chronicles of Rohn. I'm your host, Alan J. Campbell. Hey, listen, we are in a really deep conversation, a deep topic. We are talking about child support and the baby mama drama, particularly amongst our Black community. And I call it the chess game of child support. It was said to me, actually during the break, that how it was told to me. Let me rephrase that. Some women find it they feel it's more important to have that father in that child's life and interacting, and they are co-parenting, raising this child together. And she said I felt my son needed his father more than I needed his money. And ladies, I want you to listen to, I'm gonna say this again, and I thought that was so on point on what she said. I'm gonna say it again, and I'm gonna say it again for those who are hearing impaired, who are completely blind, who just can't stop having babies, who and those in the cheap seats. She said, I felt my son needed his father more than I needed his money. Now, as the story goes on, the father and the son have a relative good relationship. See, some women have it in their mind that I need to get his money, and he can get the child. He can have the child when I say he can have him. Hold on, baby. That's a human being. It's not a postage stamp. It's not a box of cereal. It's damn sure ain't a Crayola crayon. It ain't. And what gives you the right? What gives you the right to dictate and manipulate the situation of this child, or children for that matter, or children? These are living human beings. These are individuals that if you cut, they bleed. If you pinch, they hurt. They have tears. They have emotions. They have feelings. But some of these women feel that the money is more important. The money. There's only a small percentage of women who feel that the quality time is more important. And you know what? And I normally don't do this, but even in my own travels, I had someone say to me that they felt that the money was more important than the quality time for the child. And I just looked at him like, are you out your rabbit ass mind? How do you even look at that? First and foremost, this child has no inclination, has no idea on whose money is paying his tuition, whose money is putting clothes on his back, whose money is putting food in his belly, whose money is paying to keep the lights on, whose money. He has no inclination. But the most important is that he sees his father as often as possible. I've heard women even call the fathers, "You're just a weekend dad." So what? Okay, so what about the other three that you got that you don't even see they daddy? But the one who does give a damn, he comes by, he spends time with this child or maybe children. And now, mind you, he even spends times with children that aren't even his, but you're gonna give him holy hell. Now, on the flip side, now guys, this is where I'm gonna have to knock y'all across the head too. We have to understand. You have to understand that you just can't be putting things in people's mailboxes and walking away. It doesn't work that way because there's consequences to that. Okay, consequences for that, to that. It really is. The bad part is that some of these men, some of these males, let me rephrase it, males, because just because you make a baby, that don't make you a man, that don't make you a father. What makes you a man and what makes you a father is that you you take on the responsibility that comes with it. Not absorb, but take on the responsibility. I mean, I know people. I know some individuals that made some babies and haven't even looked back. And I'm like, how do you consciously do this? Well, I'm not sure it's mine. Well, wait, hold on, bro. What you mean? You're not sure? You sound crazy. Or here's the other thing. Or you get the woman who says, I don't know who the baby daddy is, or I don't know who the baby's daddies are. You know how crazy you sound? I mean, I know all of you, everybody has watched that Maury Povich show, which is that's just good television. No, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. That's good television. They had one woman came on, she was on the show 9 times. After 2, stop looking. Period. Point blank, period. If you know, and as the caller said earlier, breeders, women, if you know that you are a baby maker, if you know that a key word, and we hate, and unfortunately we have to use this language, breeders. It sounds so so degrading. But when you continue to put yourself into that position where you are popping out children a dime a dozen, sometimes I can't even understand this, sometimes even 16 months apart, means that you didn't even, whoever you was with didn't even wait to 6 weeks. Breeders, we have to understand. Look at this and what you are doing. Then you have some that have these children and the women don't even care, or they're giving the men they're raising so much hell with this, because what's happened, they produce so many children. Some of them have, and it's just mind-boggling when you run across a woman that has already 5 children and she's only 31 years old. So you've been busy. People say, oh, years ago, mothers used to say, oh my goodness, you've been busy. Or they would say to the father, you've been busy. No, just that you all were not, you just weren't doing this the right way. When we're talking about once we move from the supports and the money, we need to go into the portion of jointly raising these children. Because you and the baby mama don't get along, because you and the baby daddy don't get along, that does not absolve either one of you knuckleheads from raising this child. So what is he supposed to do? Raise himself? What is he supposed to do? You all are supposed. This is where you put your differences aside, and don't hand me that sugar honey iced tea that is so hard to do. No, you've made a conscious decision. This is not what you want to do, and don't let that baby don't let this child look like the father. Oh my gosh, you talking about really catching holy hell. It's gonna happen. It is subject to happen. We have to stop and see. The unfortunate part is that we as Black people continue to operate in an environment of recklessness, irresponsibility, and carelessness. Here we have, another story, a thing that came across, and that was brought to my attention. Here, we have an individual who, for whatever reason, took up with this man. Because why? She just wanted a man in her house and a warm body next to her in bed. Ladies, you got to understand this. It's not about having that body. It's not about having that body in that bed. Oh, I want somebody that I can go to bed with, or I want somebody that I can wake up next to. All in due time. But there are things that you have to be doing, things you have to put in place for these things to be done. You have to create the environment of a preparation. That means preparing yourself for the right time, the right individual, and the right things to fall into place. This is a job. When you start talking about child support, when you start talking about children, when you get into the portions, the realms of relationships, people, especially women, it is a job. You with somebody for X amount of time, you punched in. That means that you're on the job. You're on the clock. Tick, 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 tick. That means the same thing that you use to get the job, you have to maintain it. You can't slack off. You can't fall off. If you got kids, when he happens to come into your life, there has to be an understanding between you and him and them. I'm going to say it again, an understanding between you, him, and them. Because make no mistake, when he has no children by you, he is not obligated to do one single solitary thing. He's not even obligated to say hi and bye to your children. He's not obligated to interact. He's not obligated to do anything for them. Now, if he has children on his own, that is his first priority. I had I had someone tell me this story, and they told me, they said this one woman got pregnant purposely. She got pregnant on purpose to separate, because she saw how he doted over his children, how he interacted, how he was about his children, but she got pregnant on purpose to separate that man from his current children. What kind of mind do you have to even plot some monkey BS like that? Then you get with this man, and then that relationship don't work. It falls apart for whatever reason. But see, you went about it the wrong way, baby. You can't see, when you plotting stuff like that, expect what to happen. Expect that thing. When you have a man that comes into your life and he is about his children, because understand something, if you're not married to him and he's got children, you are second. His first priority are those children. That's what defines him. Ladies, the same thing. That child or children are your number one priority. That man is second. If he or she cannot understand that, kick rocks. Kick rocks. Kick rocks. But you know what? we can go on and on and on, until the next hour. But you know what? This is my time. That's my time here at the Chronicles of Rohn. But appreciate y'all listening. So we got to, we just want you all to think about these things and how you go about this. Just think about these things on what you do and how you proceed with your children, how you interact, and how you treat that man you have a child by. Okay, that's all I'm here to say here on iHeart Intellectual Radio, the Chronicles of Rohn. To my sponsor, Nubian Beauty of Hair, check out their website. luxuryhairdirect.com/Nubian4. Remember to put the dot at the end of that 4 here. Good night.